Well, here we are. This is the first week of the first month, and I'm going through my own processes, and I've been committed to share with you what my own experiences have been along the way. And you may want to ask, why do anything like this? And I have to tell you, if you're following and practicing parts of this, I really can't tell you with authority or impunity that I know what the outcome's going to be because it's a place I've not been to. It's a place where I want to progress towards. For me, that progress has to do with the increase of the capacity to feel with some clarity of purpose and intent and sincerity, to be able to want to feel more, open the heart more, transform, ask for divine guidance, and then use that process to increase the capacity for tenderness, innocence, humility, the love of truth, authenticity. I just took you through a sequence of locations on the mother's side of the family. So for the next 6 months, I really am committed, rather passionately, to examine each week of each month in a different way, but relative to the architecture of that month. So the very first beginning of this is the very first week after the equinox in the autumn. So the southern hemisphere is on the equinox relative to spring. So what I'm about to tell you doesn't really apply to them, but there are parts of it that definitely do apply. So the sincere desire to want to feel, grow, thrive, live. You can give it many different forms of adjectives: success, happiness, soulmate union, oneness with God. Whatever, all of this process to me starts at one tiny spot, which is the first few hours or the first day of the week of 4 weeks of this month. So I'm saying the very first movement is the stepping onto the beginning, like a very slender white thread on the ground that you can barely see. To step onto that, to me, is associated with the divine love path. It's like the sincere desire to want to be in actual living congruent harmony with the divine experience of how one's existence in soul, mind, or spirit consciousness, I'm interested in that. I want to live that. Now back to the very first part. I know it's odd, but I've been just focused on the first few days of the first week. What's the difference in the weeks? Well, this calendar of the year is a solar calendar in a different way. No, it's a lunar calendar somewhat combined with a solar calendar. And I think it's really useful if you go look at different calendars. There's a lunar calendar, there's a Gregorian calendar, there's a Chinese calendar. There is literally different kinds of calendars. I'm suggesting that this is one kind of calendar that's related to the experience of feeling day by day, week by week, in accumulation along this tiny little path. And I'm still examining quite thoroughly, by the way, because I've been doing this just hour by hour. For example, let me give you just A little bit of example of what I did this morning. I was awake early, and typically the time period between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. is that part of us we call in the RAYID vernacular 5-boy, or intrinsic free will throat, authentic. That's a time to become an individual. That time period between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. is a collage of human social emotional relationships met by a completely different experience between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. That time period, if you could just imagine it for a moment, is like a vertical acupuncture golden needle that's quite long, 6 to 8 inches long, of this vertical, radiant, intrinsic, fiery, pointed needle of extraordinary individuality. It is the sincere desire for me to be who I am, regardless of the consequences, sociology, philosophy, governance, religions, aliens, whatever. I just am going to be me. I want to be me. So that's the ascending nature, which is also matched with the ascending day of the rising sun. So that 2 hours before the rising sun is still in the dark, yin, and this is the ascending pointedness of my authentic being. You got all that? Now, the overarching larger force is the month. This happens to be the month of water in a major form, hence the lake. This is the month of peace, hence the lake. This is the month of feeling. There is a correspondence to water and feeling and spirit and so on and so on. This is the month, the very first step of the first month has to do with this lake of peace. Now, water has its natural tendency to come down. It's oftentimes contained by or within the earth, but it's also contained by the sky and the clouds or vapors or so on and so on. So the water is both material, earth and sky at the same time. It's air, earth and air at the same time, but it's right in the middle. I like the middle. So the ability to be able to be right in that interior place with that needle, with this lake of peace enveloping and descending. It's coming down, the needle's going up. The lake is dominant because it's the dominant month of the lake. That needle month, by the way, comes right before the spring equinox, the same way it becomes right before the rising of the sun each day. Same principle, same timing. So I've been examining what that feels like, and I have to tell you, I'm having some interesting experiences. Like, for example, if I were really going to help myself experience the feeling of the month, I would give you a reference to, what does sunset feel like to you? Why is sunset maybe the most beautiful time of the day? What a remarkable, wonderful thing that the whole experience of sunset, my favorite time of the day is sunset. Part of the reason for that is the cacophony of birds singing and the nighttime animals coming to the lake, preparing to have their nighttime venture, and the daytime animals coming to the same lake because they're getting ready to bed down for the night. So it's a very busy thing that cusp of daytime moving into nighttime, or, if you will, father's family moving into mother's family, masculine into feminine, is a significantly powerful moment. Very different in the morning because it's just not the same. It's masculine into masculine. Okay, it has some beauty at sunrise, don't get me wrong. They're both very nice. But that one of the father's side of the family, through the animal kingdom, 5-girl function, coming into the lake, which is essentially smaller than a tiny drop of water that has to fit on the top of that acupuncture needle. How do you get something that is so discreetly, uniquely beautiful as stepping on the divine love path? At first, it's somewhat of an experiment to go, wait, you mean the evening prepares me to feel? Yes. The first cusp of the evening prepares you to leave your body, because that first 2 hours at sunset, typically 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., is the peace of the evening. It's also the time typically when the moon rises, right? It has a very soft moon-like quality, except in this very first week, the lunar function is the new moon. So there is no moon in this functional use of this. The first week is the new moon timing. The new moon is where we plant the seeds of the future. So I'm saying that all future seeds are actually planted in the voluntary experience of moving into my personal yin. Now, that may feel like peace, because that's the peace of the evening. And for those 2 hours, there's the gradual approaching of the softer night, and the range of vision softens. You know the feeling. That inner experience of a personal peace. Now, in the process of doing that, I had to back up a little bit and go, wait. What precedes that peace? What is the pristine, most realized feeling in the first week, which, by the way, the first week has to do with the divine feminine significance of this month, or the divine significance of this week, which is the consummate beginning of all beginnings. Very important that you consider that there may be a genuine reason why you step on this path. Now, the problem was, the moment I did that, I got this like inner giggle of glee. It's kind of like getting your toe on exactly the right line and tickles a little bit. No, okay, so wait, is there a happiness that comes from going on this path? Or is it just this peace? You can call it contentment, you can call it tranquility, you can call it calm, you can call it dozens of other adjectives about what it feels like to be embodied in this massive lake of bottomless peace. Oh, by the way, this is a lake that's never had a ripple. What does it feel to occupy or beginning to step into that lake? Well, lo and behold, I did this right through sunrise. So I go, wait, I have to change myself now. I'm being inside the envelopment of this lake, which has a mass that's huge, by the way. We'll get back to what that may feel like. But then here comes the rising sun, like the galloping horse of the rising sun, bringing this blazing interior chariot up inside the lake. So what does it feel like to be a lake of pure peace with a rising function of sunrise where the fire burns beneath the water? One of my favorite phrases from Rumi was the fire that burns beneath the water. Whoa, a passion for feeling, peace, divine feminine, whatever you want to call that passion or purpose for. What does it feel like to have this upwelling of the force of the rising sun meeting this interior womb-like vastness of peace? It's very nice. I like that feeling a lot. Brought me a little bit of tears somewhere along the way in the whole process. And then it gives me this little cascade of sadness. Wow, I'm in a very beautiful place and I'm feeling sadness. Ah, I'm occupying the interior experience of my inner feeling function, sometimes called two-girl and feeling, and I'm putting more awareness and passion inside of it, and what comes is sadness. That means the sadness is what I need to protocol. Ah, I get it. It's not a sadness specific to an event or a person or something in this life. It's just the sadness in general, and I need to protocol. So I did. I protocoled it about an hour. And then lo and behold, it came to the 8 o'clock hour. Well, 6 to 8 is two-boy fire. 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. is four-boy. Now that means fire in the chest combined with fire in the belly. It also corresponds in the southern hemisphere to the second month of spring, fire in the heart. Okay, so I got into, okay, so fire in the heart, but remember, I'm on the first week. Yeah, later on, the second week is personal, it's about the body. Later on, the third week is social mannerisms of, solar plexus and people. And the fourth week has to do with opening heart and the vectors of virtues and many, but right now the first week is purely divine. So how does my interior four-boy celebratory function now, instead of just fire rising up, it multiplies outward into the accelerator or the friendship function of intrinsic happiness that comes from social emotional relationships that is rising up. How do you rise up inside of a vast womb of peace? Whoa. It backed me off to something smaller than a giggle. And I couldn't quite get there. Then Nellie reminded me that, well, maybe one of the sweetest functions of you can feel with the heart in the very beginning might be like the first smile of a baby. Ah, yes, that's it. Ah, good. The four-boy function is the first tenderness that manifests into happiness. Eventually, that's all the other yang forms of happiness and celebration, fun and raucous things and whatever. But the very first part of it on the very first week is the interior feeling experience of that four-boy. Smile, tiny baby. Whew. Nice. Oh my goodness. Now we're approaching midday. I missed the six-boy opportunity. I'm going to have to get that on tomorrow's go around. Now I'm on the one girl midday 12 noon thing. Oh, my nemesis, one girl, which is the interior will of the mountain, father's mother. Inside of this two-girl lake, this is the mountain below the lake. She doesn't rise. She goes into the earth. Wow. I'm going to have to sit with that one for a while. That's not an easy one to address. Now, this is what I do, literally. I pause, I consider, I have a celebratory reverence for the presentation of the two-girl month as being the entry into forever. The door of heaven is opened by the key of that baby's smile. Inside the feeling experience, now I'm going to connect all the other qualities of all the other months to all those. And did I mention this is just year number 2? Planning on continuing this and to share with you, for those of you who want to observe from a distance or participate, let me know how you're doing. And I'll come back because of the significance of this. I'll probably come back once or twice more this week to bring you up on this first week. And I'll probably do 2 or 3 videos a week for each week of this month, just to give you a better sense of what it is, how it works, and how you might use it. If something is not clear about this, which could be a lot of things, just simply send me a text or an email, do it in private if you must, or post something publicly so other people can see it. I would suggest you come back to that very first step onto the path of forever. Effortless effort. Try that one. See you soon.